Look, good against remotes is one thing. Good against the living, it's something else.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Contingency Plan Podcast. My name is Jedi Master David, and with me, as always, is Darth Austin.
Hello, everyone.
Darth is, I don't know, are you invisible?
I have a cloak, a Harry Potter cloak.
Are we that kind of podcast now? Are we cross promotional?
Why not?
Well,
it's fun time. Go ahead. Talk about your friends.
I think we're here in. I think you're here more in spirit. I can hear your voice. I just can't see your body. We actually have you calling in. All right. Well, I know you've been very busy this week. Obviously, I've been. I'm never busy. I've been busy too, but
no, you're just not willing to work ridiculous amounts of hours like I am.
No, not anymore. Not anymore. I've grown a little lazier than that. But yeah, I figured we definitely wanted to get together and talk about D23 and the footage that has come out, and the Mandalorian and the Rise of Skywalker and Kenobi and the
I don't know what you're
Ewoks.
talking about. I didn't watch any of that.
Well, we were also wanted to talk about the Ewoks that are in the trailer, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, okay.
The Sith Ewoks.
Yeah, well, we do have quite a bit to go over. I know you've seen the footage now. Obviously, I got to see it. Had a special podcast on, when did I drop that? Sunday, I think. Recorded Saturday night, like directly after we started hearing it drop. But then now we've both seen footage. We both have some theories, so I figured we'd have another little special council to go over what we think and what we saw. So I think let's start with a nice soft soft slow pitch here, I guess, and let's get your opinion on Kenobi. So we had Ewan McGregor actually come out to the convention for all of 30 seconds. I don't know. Did you see the clip where he came out with Kathleen Kennedy?
Yeah, and it's like I've been waiting 3 or 4 years. People keep asking me if I ever be Kenobi again. It's like, I don't know. I'd do it if they wanted to.
Yeah, and then
that was super short. It was not even close to enough. But
it was definitely short. There had been a lot of speculation that this was happening like weeks before. I know I posted some articles on the Twitter, and make sure you follow us there, just at TC Plan Podcast. But there was rampant speculation even before the conference or the expo, and here it comes. We are getting the Kenobi story, and they did release actually during that segment their what do you want to call it? Their reference map or timeline, and it is like
it's crazy how much it's expanded over the years.
Well, very true. But I mean, you saw where this is supposed to sit, right? In the actual universe of things.
I didn't rewatch it, so I'm kind of blurry on it right now. Could you tell the audience for me?
No, I was relying on you. Let me see here.
I'm pretty sure it's before New Hope, though.
No.
It's right before.
Well, yes, you are right correct. Before. So, it is actually right around the timeline for Solo.
Okay.
Can you believe that? Solo, a Star Wars story. So, obviously after Clone Wars, and this is going to be hopefully, unless we're in for a huge swerve, around the time when he's on Tatooine. There have been a lot.
That's what everyone wants too, honestly.
Well, it's what I wanted. It's definitely what I wanted. And the interesting thing about this is that there've been a lot of people asking about, well, could there be some crossover? Because like Infus Nest, was a very interesting character from Solo, had a part to play, and there's been a little bit of expansion of her, but there was some speculation about, are we going to see her in movie form again? Because we also have the cast, TV format in this streaming format. There was also, some thought about her potentially being in the Cassian Andor series that's going to come out along the time of Rebels. So I think, and I definitely want to hear your opinion, because I think I've already worn out my proverbial welcome talking about this already. But my big takeaway is, do we think that Obi-Wan Kenobi just sat on Tatooine for all those years and just looked after Luke? That's all he did?
I think he just sat in the sun all the time. That's why he aged so much.
Oh, my goodness.
Those suns, man. Those suns are rough on you.
Twin suns, man. They'll burn you to crisp.
Unless you're Luke.
Well, yeah. But yeah, he's learning his force shout to dissuade Tusken Raiders, and he's we learn how he stole his house in the hills, and borrowed. I don't know. Maybe he went crazy.
He killed them.
Well, it is an interesting timeline. So go ahead, tell me what you think we're going to get out of this series.
Well, what I think we'll get, and what I've always wanted, is the final confrontation versus Kenobi and Maul. It's set up perfectly for it. There's no reason we won't see him in this. I mean, that's all I want. I want that to be the end of the season. Whether it be a one season kind of show or they turn it into a full on 5-6 season series. I need that confrontation with Maul. Well, I need to see him, having his confrontation with Uncle Owen and all that good stuff.
See, that's a good point. Yeah.
Some PTSD, because he had it. There's no way he didn't.
Exactly. And that was actually one of my thought processes with Uncle Owen. Like, so when he encounters Luke in the desert with the droids, brings him back to his house, and he automatically just gives him the lightsaber, right?
Yep.
Do you think that he ever, when Luke was actually young, came over and was like, hey, it's time to start his training?
Oh, I guarantee that. He's from a generation where they believe in training them young. He wouldn't have chose to wait till he was, 18, 19 years old. Right.
And that's kind of what I'm thinking. And that could have caused a huge blow up with Owen. Cause like even in A New Hope, we also got that sort of like, you stay away from that crazy, what I don't remember the exact line, but you could tell Owen wasn't really, he didn't want Luke to go around him.
Yeah.
And there has to be more behind that, because I mean, when they first met there, when Kenobi brought Luke to them as a baby, I mean, they're not yelling and screaming at him, and it's like, okay, yeah, sure, we'll take this random kid that you say is my stepbrothers. Sure, it'll be great.
We definitely won't die in fire.
We'll never die. We're young and dumb. But yeah, I mean, I think that there's definitely more to explore in that dynamic. I do not think Kenobi stayed on that planet at all times. I think that there were further adventures or something. Because like Yoda, okay, we know he stayed on Dagobah, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Obi-Wan Kenobi, General Kenobi, he didn't go anywhere else.
Yeah.
But if he did, let's talk about this, because this could reintroduce one of our favorite characters. I mean,
Jar Jar Binks.
Okay. All right. I'm going to turn off the phone now. No, but Qui-Gon Jinn,
Yep.
How did he learn to ascend or, become truly one with the Force and become a Force ghost? I mean, his old master, taught Yoda. even at the end of Revenge of the Sith, we had that moment at the end, old friend. So I think it would be really cool to bring Liam Neeson back and have some of their conversations. Because, you would assume that they would have talked over the years, right?
Well, what I'm hoping for is he comes to him at his weakest points when, like I said, I'm sure he had PTSD. Maybe, one night he's got nightmares and he's reliving the fight with Anakin, and maybe that's the first time Qui-Gon interacts with him. That would be an epic scene. I mean, to hear his voice in this show.
Yeah.
Man.
I definitely think we're setting up for a lot of that. But we do got some more to talk about. So let's move on just a wee bit. Now that series, the scripts are apparently written, should begin shooting next year. I don't know, maybe 2021 release? Or do you think we'll actually get it towards the end of next year?
I think it'll probably be 2021.
Okay. That was kind of my thought process.
The Kazum series, which is going to be next year, correct?
Right. Yeah, we actually get Clone Wars in, I want to say they said February, and then, which should be really neat. And then Resistance will have their second season, their final season, and then Cassian. So yeah, that does seem like a pretty packed year. Oh, and one other thing. Well, that's not with this, but I want to transition here into The Mandalorian, but it kind of equates to both. So I did read somewhere that Mandalorian is going to be released week by week and not as like a Netflix drop.
Good. Honestly, that's what I want. I don't want a binge drop of any more shows right now. I don't have the time.
Listen here, Darth. We all know that we would sit down and watch that thing in its entirety.
We would.
But there is something more satisfying about, like, in my opinion, the week to week. So that I also feel like they'll do with this.
We have some patience, not much, but some. Well,
yeah, I'm with you there. So let's go into The Mandalorian here. So The Mandalorian, I got a huge whopping eyeful of this at Star Wars Celebration. We actually were fortunate enough to watch like the first 10 minutes of, I believe it was the first episode, but we'll just call it an episode. And I was, man.
Bet you were hooked.
Well, it was a good view into what this series could be, but it didn't necessarily spell out everything, which is good. So it was like an exceptionally long tease of what could potentially be, just new favorite series, right?
So what was the theme like? I mean, was there any hints of, joking around, anything like that, or was it all serious?
It was
as gritty as a trailer.
Right. It definitely had a lot more serious overtones to it. When we first see the Mandalorian, he is getting basically looking for jobs from Carl Weathers' character, who I don't know. There's a term for what he is. I can't remember it off the top of my head, but we'll just call him like a handler or something. Mm-hmm. And it was basically all business. I mean, he's in for the money. I think that throughout the series, we're going to figure out a larger motivation for him. And I'm hoping it ties into more like Old Republic, like maybe he's trying to become Mandalore. Maybe he's looking for that, for that old helm. Maybe there's something more about his people, I guess. But yeah, the series definitely felt very, very serious, because directly after that, he gets this special job that doesn't have its, whatever. I don't remember what they called it, but like we'll just like data chip or whatever.
Off the records job, basically.
Yeah. So he's getting an off the records job, and then he goes and enters this room, and there's just all these dusty stormtroopers with blasters drawn, and the entire tone is just very, very serious. We have a bounty for you. This is the Imperial Remnant. You know, these Imperials are obviously kind of broken down a bit, but we have a job for you. You know, let's do it. So, yeah, I was hooked. I was interested from the beginning, you know, and then to get
it's certainly something that it fills a void for Star Wars fans. Because let's be honest, I mean, we all love it, but Star Wars is goofy.
it's
really,
yeah.
I mean, Rogue One is probably the most serious, but there is still quite a bit of humor in that. So having, you know, a Game of Thrones style Star Wars, something really serious, I'm excited for that.
Yeah,
it's one thing I've always wanted.
Right, and you kind of hit the nail on the head. I think is really bridging the time gaps, because like obviously the Skywalker saga ends this year.
Yeah.
What else?
How do you feel about that? Did you get some emotion bubble up inside you when you were watching the trailer
for Rise?
Yeah.
I don't want to sound cold, but I don't really have those kind of responses to things. So
I get it.
I'm extremely excited, but you know, I don't know. I kind of have the understanding that things have to end, but
yeah.
So we have this ending, and this is something that spanned decades, and we're finally coming to an end with that story. So now let's see what you do. So now, okay, so Cassian, great. Another season of Clone Wars, great. Resistance, great. Mandalorian, awesome. Kenobi, sweet. What else could we do? You know, obviously there's got to be more, and then we still have two complete other trilogies.
Yeah.
You know,
and it's proving that we're not going to just, you know, beat a dead horse and keep bringing back these old characters from the original movies. We can actually expand on the universe and take the lore that we've been given and actually work with it, make our own stories.
Yeah, exactly. I think
They didn't buy Star Wars just to bury them. And I think that was our worry around last year, because we had an overload, and, you know, it was all old lore. It was all just pushing our childhood in our faces. And now they're like, whoa, maybe we should make our own stuff. You know, maybe we should, you know,
right.
try new things. You know, no one's willing to do that anymore with movies. So it's really refreshing.
For sure. So let us, man, taking a few more cough breaks than normal. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the Mandalorian trailer. So the trailer itself, I was actually going to try and just bring that up so I could just casually watch it with the sound off as we were talking about it. But, you know, computers, they like to run super fast at all times. So I
tried doing the same, and it's not liking that idea at all.
Yeah, I mean, I have to stall as it refuses to go back, because I'm on a site that, like, you have to sit here and hit back like 15 times until okay, there we go. We're back. But now it's got to load this page so that I can actually watch the and now I got to turn the sound off because I had the sound on, so I don't want that coming through. So just in the trailer, we open up on the Imperial Stormtrooper helmets. We got some on pikes, some just in the dirt. So obviously the Imperial Legion, I mean, they're not really welcome here, right?
I don't think so, you know?
I mean, sometimes putting a head on a pike is a symbol of love and understanding, right?
Yeah, but I think this is more of a, you know, Game of Thrones style message.
So what did you think about his ship?
Ooh.
Because that's actually on the new poster we got, him walking away from his ship. Because that's always the one thing about like Boba Fett. I mean, everybody kind of remembers Slave One. I mean, could have used a better name, but it's what it was called. But everybody remembers Boba's ship. But now we have an entirely new ship. Darth? Darth? You're not coming through the Force anymore. Where'd you go?
Lost connection to the Force. Got hungry. Could not focus.
Well, folks, as with anything we try new, there's always going to be bumps in the road. We had a little disconnect here, but we're back, and we're still talking about the Mandalorian ship. So what do you think of the Mandalorian ship?
Yeah, the strange big Y bomber.
Yeah,
it is a cool ship.
Yeah, it is kind of cool, and I know that there are a lot of folks out there who don't really care about ships, Star Wars ships.
Those people are just wrong.
Well, I mean, I do understand, I guess, it's not going to be, it's the same thing with cars. You see a cool Corvette on the road. Oh, that's cool. And then somebody, well, I don't care about that Corvette.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. So anyway, we have the ship, and let's see here. Okay. So we're moving on. We have the little deal with Carl. He gives him the job. Oh man. And I got to say that his armor, I love his armor.
Yeah.
I think I think it's epic armor personally.
Yeah.
And we get a couple of other little small tidbits of characters. We see the back of Bill Burr's bald head and a Twi'lek. So Twi'leks have been a huge part of Star Wars. And
they really have. They've always been, I can't think of a single movie that doesn't reference or have they've never been more than a supporting character, but still.
Well, Harrison Dula.
Yeah.
There's a lot more in the book. Yeah, we'll talk about her later. But there's a lot in the books that have been referencing. I never really seemed to notice it until recently. It's like the word lush. It's just lush Twi'leks all over the place.
Or, peeling back your lip.
Oh, God. You got to listen to past episodes for that reference. Okay, let's continue on in the trailer. Got a sweet, epic shot of him just walking through the desert in the sun. Mother with her child in a river. And then we get Death Troopers.
Death
Troopers have been one of my favorite things since we saw them in Rogue One.
Yeah.
Obviously,
one day I will do the most epic Trooper cosplay.
There you go. That would be sweet. I'd love to do it too. But, these are not only highly trained, expertly trained soldiers, but they're also genetically modified as well. We actually got an Alphabet Squadron. We had that rejected trooper.
Yeah.
So there are rejections. There's some that can't do it, but this is very elite. And now we have an entire squadron. It looks like they're kind of facing down the Mandalorian at this point.
Who do you think is going to win in that battle? You think he's going to just have to escape, or you think he's going to be able to take down an entire regiment of Death Troopers?
Well, that brings a question if they're actually going to fight. You know what I mean? Because, technically he's working on the behalf of an Imperial. We'll see about the interconnectivity of Imperials, because obviously when the Empire fell, everybody splintered. But, and here's another thing. I'll bring this up. It's not IG-88. It's IG-11. Okay.
Oh, really?
Yes, that's been popping off. I accidentally said IG-88 in the episode on Saturday or on Sunday, and it is IG-11. IG-11, different droid, same type of droid, but different droids.
Gotcha. Oops.
And then another thing that we got on the Mandalorian panel. So they do this shot of the Mando's ship kind of going through space. So I don't remember what the technique is called, but basically it's a model, and they're actually moving the camera around a model. So it's a practical effect as opposed to a graphical or CGI effect. Because I hope
they do that through the entire series. That would be great.
Yeah, and that's an old technique, but they had a whole behind the scenes video that they showed where they actually showed them filming that, and it was so cool. It's so cool to bring those type of practical effects back into the world of filmmaking, because I know you weren't as big a Star Trek fan as I was, but the original series, Like that was all models and it was crap. It kind of looked kind of crappy, but
Yeah.
with today's technology, we can make it look good. Oh yeah. There was IG-11 doing some business. What do you think of the Mandalorian's rifle? It's kind of got like that prong in the front. Like it could be like
it was kind of cool. It didn't really excite me. Oh no. I mean, they've always had, and I know obviously Boba Fett isn't really part of all that, but they've always had weird little rifles, honestly.
Yeah, it's just kind of interesting. It kind of looks like maybe like a cattle prod.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's kind of
I've
an
never
interesting.
really been the biggest fan of the blasters and Star. I'm not saying I don't like them, but there's only been a few that really grab my attention.
Gotcha. Let's see here. Oh, and one other thing I'm going to bring up here real quick. And we talked about it a little bit beforehand, but the tone again here. So there's a scene where the Mandalorian is fighting several guys in, I don't know, this little structure. I don't know if it's a bar or whatever.
It's a cantina. There are no bars in Star Wars. It's a cantina.
No, true enough. So he's fighting off these guys, and it looked like one of them was trying to run. He catches him with his little grappling hook or whatever. And he basically is in the door. He shoots the door panel, and it looks like that door is just going to like crush the guy in half. That's
but
a bit...
Will we see it?
Well, that's the thing. That's
Even
pretty
the
graphic, right?
A big deal,
Yeah, it's pretty graphic for for something Disney. If that's the way, I don't think you're going to see a bloody stump or anything, but just the idea of that's the way this guy is going to end.
Yeah,
that's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
We also then see some folks in carbonite. Did you catch that?
No, I didn't catch that, actually.
Yeah, we've got a couple of folks in carbonite, like maybe this is a prison. And I don't know. I mean, there's so many things about this because like the whole job, he's going to find somebody and hopefully bring him back. Because in the footage we watched, the Imperial, basically was like, essentially dead or alive. But then there was this doctor that was there. He's like, dead? Why? No, we want him alive. So... Yeah. Is this a prisoner? There's a lot of speculation as to who this is, and they gave an age. I think the person was supposed to be around 50. They didn't say male or female, and like you get to looking at like characters, like major characters. Mon Mothma is really about the only one around this time that would have been in this age bracket. I mean, there are a couple that are close, give or take, but
that wouldn't really thrill me much, honestly.
Well,
no offense.
I want
anyone who's a big fan.
Yeah, I want to love Mon Mothma, but the more and more I've read of her and the backstory, I've just never been super impressed with her character. Although I really, really want to get it. Like I want to get it, but I just don't. There's so many more powerful figures in the world of Star Wars than Mon Mothma, and it also didn't help that. Some of the stuff in the Aftermath series, I just didn't really agree with her on, so that didn't help anything.
Well, she essentially wanted to demilitarize the Republic.
Well, there's a lot of that. So, but anyway, let's continue with the trailer here. So we got the folks in carbonite, and then we actually have a bit of the scene I watched where he was talking to the Imperial. And he's like, bounty hunting isn't easy.
It's kind of a weird line.
Well, yeah, in context, but. So one of the things that Lauren Alice over at the Force Toast podcast pointed out, I believe it was them, I want to say it was them, about the music. There wasn't really any distinctive music here, and at the very end, it was like a dun 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 dun, type of deal.
Was there music until the end?
Well,
because I really did.
And that's
I don't think
thing.
there was any at all.
Right, and that's the thing. It's really absent. The absence of music is pretty crazy because part of Star Wars has always been that very distinctive theme.
So they're really branching off with this.
Well, it might not be. There might be there might be a theme. Like I'm interested to see what the opening credits of an episode look like.
Yeah.
But in Solo they didn't really do that either. to be fair, in the early trailers.
True. Very true.
So, it could be something. But anyway, very excited about this. Any other final thoughts about The Mandalorian before we rise a little bit?
No, I think I'm ready for the final chapter.
The final countdown.
No, we're not going there.
Why are you always raining on my parade?
It's fun.
Okay, so D23 brings us, and they're not even calling this a trailer. They're calling it special footage.
Yeah.
And we'll just walk through the trailer as well. I'll bring it up here and then I'll just sort of walk through it just for the sake of things. Again, sound off. There is some dialogue, but we'll just go for the shots. In the beginning here, we do forgot to turn sound off again. It was starting to go. We get some legacy footage. Talk to me about, because we talked about this a little bit, talk to me about what you liked or even disliked about this first sort of stitching together of some of this legacy footage.
There's actually nothing I disliked of the first section. I loved every scene. I think if you or I were to sit down and pick most iconic scenes, I think we would have picked 90% of these, honestly.
And to be honest, that sounds like a great podcast.
It does.
I'm not going to lie. I think that sounds like a fantastic podcast. We might have to do that sometime. But you're right. It does. It goes through basically the gambit of all of these pretty epic moments, right?
Yeah.
I mean, from basically all the movies, and we're getting this wrap up
as well.
One thing though that I did think was interesting, Padme. We see Padme here, which isn't interesting in and of itself, but the scene we see her in is their wedding.
Mm-hmm.
Of all the epic things Padme's done, like the assault on the Naboo palace, fighting off of those monsters on, I'm blanking on the planet. Camino. No, Geonosis. Of all the things that she's done, that's the scene that they put in this.
Yeah.
A wedding.
The only one with her. Yeah.
A wedding. Oh, I got the Raylo fans all sorts of hot and bothered.
Yeah.
Oh, I hate it so much. It was also cool, they showed like almost they showed so many characters like here, there's Mace Windu. Heck yeah, man.
Yeah.
Boba Fett. No, we don't need to see him. No, I'm just kidding. Quick note. So we had someone over in the Hyperspace Hangouts Facebook page, another great podcast, guys, if you haven't listened to them, did a Photoshop of the Rise of Skywalker poster and put Rise of the Senate because I am the Senate.
Nice.
It's so good. I almost want to print it and just have my own little custom poster just of that Photoshop. Oh my goodness. So legacy footage, hands, a lot of hand holding. Did you notice that?
Yeah. They talked a lot about connections in a lot of the breakdowns I've watched.
Yeah, but I mean, it was like 4 solid frames where it was like some sort of hand, Rey and Kylo and, Han on Ben's face and Finn and Rey, when they were on Jakku
as well.
Yeah, it was kind of a little interesting there. Let's see here. We're almost out of the legacy footage. It actually dominates half of this entire thing. So when we finally get into some potential movie spots, we start to see Burning Man out in the desert.
Yeah.
This is something
what do you think the significance of that scene is?
Well,
do you think that's just kind of a throwaway section of the movie? Maybe they're looking for somebody, or you think could that be potentially the end of the movie?
Well, I'll talk about that here.
Celebration.
I'll talk about that here in just one second, but I do want to talk about this still, though, because we have Finn, Rey, Poe, and Chewbacca looking on to Burning Man, and then you just see this real, very blatant shot of C-3PO just in the background.
Yeah.
Like, hey, don't forget about me, guys. No, anyway.
Wonder if he has the red eyes.
Well, we'll talk about that here in a second too. So this little, because it does kind of looks kind of like a festival, but I don't think it's the end of the movie. I think that this might be, I feel like this is going to be in the more towards the beginning. And I think, we're still potentially trying to build the resistance here a little bit. So maybe they're looking for somebody important, or maybe they're recruiting.
It could be.
And
I don't know if Poe looks pretty worn out in that scene. So something big has just happened probably. Well, it could be right after the funeral. You never know.
And that's the thing. I feel like right now, sitting here right now, I almost feel like they will not kill off Leia's character.
You think they'll just kind of stop referencing her?
I think that we'll get the scenes that JJ has talked about from Force Awakens, and then I think we'll just kind of fade out of it. I don't know. I mean, in the beginning, I was like, yeah, open up on a funeral. This is the new resistance, so on and so forth. But I think there's a wider part that she has to play in books, and I don't think that they want to kill off the character right now.
That's true. I didn't consider that.
So I don't know. I could be wrong, but I don't think so. So again, we got Burning Man. We get a nice shot of Leia in like a jungle.
Yeah.
Which is...
And then...
yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. If you want to talk more about that, that's fine. I was skipping to the next scene.
The ships?
Yeah.
So this is where we start getting a little interesting. Now, the scene is very hazy, but
we got a bunch of starfighters and a Tantive. What do you got? What you got, guys? Oh, you got an Armada.
Well, and here's the thing: we have several different types of ships. We've got some of those look like B wings, definitely some Ys, some X wings. Is it though? But is it though?
Is it the Millennium Falcon?
Yeah, because I don't know that that's the... I know what you're looking at, but I don't know that that's the Millennium Falcon. It could be. I'm just saying that my first instinct is to say it's not, but it very well could be. I'm not saying it's not. I just don't know that it is.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, this is an interesting scene because this is not a large force here. There are only two actual larger ships, and even then, these aren't large ships. So I almost wonder if this is towards the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, I don't think that they're going in to fight those destroyers. They're clearly in different areas. One's in space, one's on a planet.
Well, let's talk about the Star Destroyers here, because I have a couple opinions of this. So go ahead and, when you saw this, what was your first thought when we saw these Star Destroyers just out here in the middle of nowhere?
It got me to thinking of a little theory. So we have the Sith troopers, and now we have these Star Destroyers, and we know the Remnant's still around. They're separate from the First Order. So what if we have the Remnant show up on top of the First Order, and they are led by one of Palpatine's wraiths, essentially, if you want to call him that.
Okay.
We have an entire armada of the Star Destroyers that were left over after the war. We have all these troopers dressed in red now. They have to kind of change their look because the First Order kind of stole their look. And we know that Palpatine's in the movie to some extent. So what if he ends up taking out the First Order? What if he has his own super weapon,
Maybe. It's plausible.
We would see Rey and Kylo having to actually join forces just to fight Palpatine.
Okay.
It's a thought. I know they fight in the movie. Obviously, we have a scene for that, but...
Yeah, I have a little bit of a different thought process of this, but no, I mean it's definitely good theory. When I first saw this, they're not really lined up in any sort of formation. Okay.
Yeah.
these are also, or at least they appear to be, older. So this isn't for First Order. I think we both agree about that.
Yep.
One of the things that I give old Sheev Palpatine credit for was he was really, really good about planning things. And I believe that this was a part of a certain section of whatever contingency plan he had. I think that this is more of a case of ships and mothballs, an armada standing by for a potential engagement, but I don't believe they're manned.
Really?
However, well, stick with me here. However, I think that one of two things is going to happen. Either one, the Resistance, our new Resistance here, learns about some ships, because they don't have ships now, right? They're pretty destitute.
They don't have anything.
But they hear about some ships. They hear about some ships just out there waiting. Maybe they hear about some of this contingency plan. Maybe they hear a whisper. And I think that they will go and find these ships and take them, and we will have an epic, big, large-scale space battle between the old Imperial craft and the new First Order ships.
Yeah.
Now,
that would be exciting. Let
me add another wrinkle on here. And this is more of a wish than a hope. What if there was someone still left behind on these ships? And it just happens to be one of two people. I would be happier than heck with both, because it would just be epic. And I know certain people would lose their mind about one. So I'll go to the first one that I would be super happy about, is Grand Admiral Ray Sloan from the Aftermath series, because I would love to see her come back, because she was awesome. Okay. They mentioned her very briefly in Last Jedi, I think, or maybe it was Force Awakens. They mentioned her in one of it, but it was very brief. But I just wanted her to come through, because she was the one who actually started this whole push to the First Order. She was the one who brought Hux and Hux's father and the super kids out to the unknown regions. She was the one who started this. I would love to see her put into a film, because she was awesome. Or, now this would blow some folks' minds. What if just on the bridge of one of these sat Grand Admiral Thrawn?
Oh.
And he's just like, "Hello there. I've been waiting a long time for this."
Well, they can't do that, because then the movie theaters would have a lot of cleanup afterwards.
Oh, people would just be going nuts. I think
my God.
I think it'd be epic. I think it'd be epic.
It would be. It really would be.
Do I think they're going to put Thrawn in a movie? I don't know. I think it could be done. I don't think they will
yet. I think they could eventually, but I don't think they will yet.
I would love to see it, though. Just Thrawn on the bridge of one of these. I've been waiting. Because Thrawn was never one of those guys that was expressly a bad guy.
Yeah.
I think, through the books, we're getting more into his motivation of, I'm really here for my people, the Chiss.
Yep.
But it would be cool. But again, I personally think that this is more than likely an abandoned armada that the Resistance is going to attempt to take, but we don't have that many people in the Resistance. So that's the only thing. It's like, well, we'll take one of these. But
so I would love
to see an epic
jump, and they've added some new recruits, or where do you think we're going to be at the beginning of this movie?
That's the thing. Yes, I do believe we're going to have a larger time jump. I think something about that was said. I just can't think about it off the top of my head. I think we're going to get more about that in the Resistance Reborn book that's in the lead up to the movie. And I think that will detail some stuff. Now, another book, Black Spire, just dropped yesterday. I'm about halfway through it. And without no spoilers whatsoever. Well, okay, some spoilers, but not really. This is sort of the Resistance being rebuilt in this book in a way. Which, Darth, I got to say, man, we'll talk about that book a little bit offline. But
I'm downloading it tonight, and I'm listening to it tomorrow. So
we'll talk about it offline a little bit more too. But anyway, So I think that we are going to have some time for the Resistance to rebuild, at least in some form and fashion. Maybe not to its former glory, but more. Let's continue on a little bit here. So we got our Star Destroyers. We got a lot of these.
Yeah, like I counted at least 50 in the shot.
Yeah.
There's probably way more than that.
Yeah. Epic. But the thing is, do you think that old technology stands up to the First Order's newer technology? That's going to be the interesting part. If we get a battle, I think it would be
numbers, though. It might not matter.
That's true. I would love to see an epic, large scale Star Destroyer space battle, though.
Not to mention if it's a sneak attack and they just come out of hyperspace. 200 of those things. I mean, oh my God.
Yeah, for sure. So we do get a shot of our new character here with Finn. Do you remember her name? I can't remember her name off the top of my head.
I don't.
Well, we do get her character here with Finn, which is kind of cool. I know that there's been some talk. We've been talking about this beforehand. Maybe little Lando's daughter, but we'll see. Mm-hmm. So we get her in here, and the looks on their faces, and I can only assume that this is when they see these ships, or it could be something else, but they have interesting looks on their faces. Let's continue on to the greatest shot here and the explanation of everything. Darth 3PO.
Yep, there from the beginning. Coming off of old Vader's table himself.
He was there from the beginning.
And Vader did create him.
You'll have to check.
And now his essence is embodied in him.
Yeah. I tweeted a picture from somebody where basically 3PO has been through a lot. Like there was the scene, and I think it was Clone Wars, where his head gets swapped onto a battle droid. And like the theory was like, listen, I think 3PO might be a little insane. Like what if his personality was somehow swapped with the battle droids and now he's got extra programming, and I don't know, it could be funny. Personally, this scene, I'll just say this here. I think that this is a huge sort of misnomer. I think it's just bad lighting, or I think it's intentional lighting. I don't think it has anything to do with anything insidious. I just think that maybe because of the backlighting and everything, his eyes just appear to be darker tinted. I don't know about you.
If it's anything other than that, I'm going to be kind of disappointed, because that's not my concern right now, is what's going on with 3PO.
No, I'm with you there, but I will say I have a feeling, and Ez on Hyperspace Hangout did say this a little bit too, so I'll give him credit, but I did sort of start to think about it too. It's like, I feel like we might see the end of C-3PO for some reason. Like, I feel like they might take him out. What do you think?
You think so?
I don't know. I feel like something's going to happen. We're going to lose somebody.
I think it'll be R2-D2.
Well, I know. I think we talked about that beforehand. So maybe, I don't know. It's hard. It's hard for me to. I think from a storyboard sort of, I think R2 would make more sense, and then I think 3PO and BB-8 can do their 3PO thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, next scene here, we have a weapon going off on a planet. Potentially a super duper weapon. What do you think of that?
The first thing I thought was, and I had to correct myself and, look it up. I thought that maybe it would have been from one of the Star Destroyers. Of course, I'm wrong. It's green bolts from them. I don't know. Maybe we got a little, Eye of Palpatine going on.
Well, it's possible. I mean, it looks destructive, but it doesn't look super destructive. We'll see.
Yeah.
Oh,
more like a what did they call the mini Death Star in Last Jedi?
What?
They had like this little thing that they referenced as a mini Death Star, or Death Star mini. Drawing a blank here. What they call it? I
don't know. I'm not sure.
When the Resistance was hunkered down in that bunker, what they used to destroy that? There was something they used.
I mean, it was that cannon thing.
Yeah, what'd they call that?
Oh heck, I don't know. I would have no idea about that.
You know what I'm talking about, though.
Yeah, I mean, I know what you're talking about. I don't know.
Potentially, it could be something more like that.
Maybe. It's possible. So let's see here. Then we're going to see an interesting scene. I have to think that this is training. That was my first instinct, but I could be wrong. See what you think.
Yep.
But we have Rey here. She throws her saber, cuts down a tree. Then we see her with a stick.
BA lightsaber throw in all of Star Wars, by the way.
Say that again.
One of the most BA lightsaber throws of all Star Wars.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, saber throwing, we've seen that quite a bit. Vader, obviously.
The awkward saber throw of Vader.
from the hip, yeah. But, and she catches it. I don't think this doesn't seem to be in one fluid motion there because now she has a stick.
Yeah.
So maybe she practices it a few times.
To fight with both at the same time, maybe.
Maybe.
I don't know.
But.
And what's with that little bandana or ribbon around her hand?
You got to have a montage bandana, man.
Yeah, I guess.
I don't know. I don't know about that. That's maybe just garb. I don't really know. I mean, but I do see what you're saying there. It is kind of weird.
Very.
Yeah, we'll see. But it to me, this feels like her training further.
I agree.
Cool. Because she needs it. Now, another thing here, and I don't want to get too far ahead.
Hey, she already knows everything.
Well, I don't want to get too far ahead here, but it is coming up here. So we have Kylo kind of igniting his saber out here, but we then get onto this scene. We're in the middle of this ocean. We're on this piece of ship or something. And we have a bit of a duel between Kylo and Rey. Yep. Now, somebody on Twitter pointed out that the form that they have here, they said that it looks like Form 1. And that this could be maybe not so much a battle, but training.
Really?
What do you think of that? Because it's very brief, and we don't really get to see the expressions on their faces either.
I didn't really get to see enough to really make that call.
There's not a ton to see here, brother. I mean, it's very brief.
It's a guess.
Well, it is.
I don't know Form 1 well enough to even confirm or deny that. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, but that's what somebody on Twitter pointed out. Like maybe it was a training because the Form 1 basic training between the two of them, it could support kind of them getting together on something. Because, and we'll stop here before the final thing that we need to talk about that is probably the biggest deal, and that's Bendemption. Okay, I know my thoughts on Bendemption. What do you think about the redemption of Ben Solo?
I don't want it, honestly. I don't think it can really happen.
Well, anything can happen. You never know.
That we have, I take that back. Now that we have potentially Palpatine in some form, we could have that happen. But before that, the big issue is we don't have someone to replace him as the main villain.
Right. I'm with you.
Now, when Snoke was still alive, yes, I think that we could have had that. I still, at that point, didn't really want it. Truthfully, though.
I think that if we were just dealing with a book series, I think some things could be written that could very easily make it okay. Or more acceptable. I think in a movie format, though, I think it would be really hard, and I do like to have pretty clear-cut villains. There are a lot of folks on the Reylo sort of side of things, although I really don't think that this is a love story.
I don't know either.
I think that the love story...
we're going to find that they could be related.
I don't think they're related personally. I'm still cool with the idea that Rey isn't a Skywalker, that she isn't a Kenobi, that she isn't someone special. She's just a Force sensitive from somewhere else. With maybe, her parents had friends in higher places or something like that. Because there's no way the Millennium Falcon was just there on Jakku. Okay, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
But I do like clear-cut villains. I really like the character of Kylo, and I like Adam Driver, but I just don't know. I just don't know that I would be satisfied with him turning back to the light that easily. You know what I mean? I just don't know if that would be the way to go. But here's the other thing I want to throw at you. What if we did a switcheroo? Ben goes light and Rey goes dark. What do you think about that?
I think that's something we've talked about and we've seen plenty of theories on past. Do you feel like that would be a good switch for a third movie in a trilogy?
No, because of her character. My whole thing is because of Rey being who she is. No. I can't say regardless of that though, because Rey's character I think is very important. If it were somebody else, maybe, but Rey, no. That's just my opinion.
I wouldn't want to see it.
Well, let's talk about the last scene here because I bet you're ready to just blow everybody's mind. We get a little bit of a blank screen here with some dialogue, and then we come up on Rey in a dark cloak. She has two lightsabers, and it pans out, and it's like, no, it's a double-bladed lightsaber with red blades. Now, couple things to point out.
The most awkward lightsaber ever.
Well, yeah, a couple things to point out, though. So the lightsaber stream is not as constant. So this is more reminiscent of like Kylo's saber, the cracked sort of deal there. More of an older kind of saber. Mm-hmm. And the handle is not one solid piece like Maul's. So that's something there. And it's huge. Yeah.
It's a staff. It's not really a saber.
It's crazy. It's crazy how big the darn thing is. But for like literally, just a very short scene, this was something that people went absolutely bonkers, man.
Yeah.
Dark Rey.
What do you think?
Okay. Let me run you through the theory.
Break down that scene for me. What do you think how do you think they're going to incorporate it?
Okay, let me break down to you two paths. Okay, I don't know which one is which, but there are two paths here. And I think I have a vague intuition that I could lean more towards one. First of all, to set up, there was a scene somewhere where Rey, I think, was talking to Finn. He's like, I don't remember the exact dialogue, but basically it's dangerous. I have to go alone or something like that. So that's important to one path. So I'll outline that path. One, I think that either way we go, it's a vision. I don't think Rey is turning to the dark side. I think that this is a vision for either Rey or for Kylo. So let's go for the Rey theory. Talking to Finn, it's dangerous. I have to do this alone. Maybe Rey is having her own cave scene, like Luke did on Dagobah. And as we know, Luke goes into the cave and he faces, quote, Darth Vader. But when he strikes him down, the mask pops and it's him. So there's an element of fighting yourself, fighting the darkness within inside of you that the Force tries to show them. So maybe that's something that Rey has to deal with, because she already had her snappy cave scene, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. In the the seaweed bunghole of the world.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ryan. I appreciate it, brother. But I think she has further introspection here. And I think if we go one path, I think this could be Rey's vision, a further or final test from the Force to either confirm her as truly Jedi or to wash her out, basically.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. Now, the other thing here is it's a vision for Kylo, brought on by either interacting with some sort of relic or holocron or, Palpatine Sentinel or Palpatine himself as a means to taunt him, to further take him deeper into the dark side by showing him a path where he could be destroyed or
replaced
or joined. because you know what he wants is for somebody to join him. He wanted Rey to join him. So this could be sort of an apparition for him where Rey is joining us, or Rey could destroy you. So it could go either way. But I think it would be interesting because it could be like a torment for him. He's already not very stable. Okay. And if Palpatine is truly, if Palpatine's truly in play here, he's a manipulator. He's always done this. He did this with Vader, with Padme. Who's to say he wouldn't do it with Kylo and use Rey as that tool of his own furtherance into the dark side? So that's a couple things. Now, one other thing, and you pointed this out too before we recorded, the thing on Rey's finger. Now, there are a lot of theories about this. One of them was Snoke's ring. I do not believe that to be true. I mean, it could be, but I don't believe it to be true. Good friend Lindsay over at Clashing Sabers podcast thought that could be Leia's ring. And that's why I almost started to think a little bit more that this could be something meant for Kylo. Again, as a torment, because not only is it Rey, but what if he notices this, like his mother's ring, something in connection to his mother? So it's like a double whammy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or it could just be his fears manifesting in dream form, and he wakes up in a sweat with his shirt off.
Yeah, because that has to happen. Again.
Man, I got my shirt off a little bit too much in these movies, man. It's good. So I don't know. That's kind of what I thought about it. But I'll tell you, when I first heard this, because initially we weren't privy to the footage. We were looking at like live tweeting and live text basically. And Lindsay was the one who just texted me and said Rey with a dark double-bladed, or Rey with a red double-bladed lightsaber. And I was like, what are you talking about, man? So
spoiler.
Well, it's crazy. The other thing I'll point out here, and you also pointed this out as well, but I'll just make a little bit more light of it. Rey's mannerisms in here seem very robotic, very controlled. And there are people out there that say, well, she's hypnotized. Well, she's under trance. She's being controlled. But for me, that actually builds more into my confidence in a vision, because it's not really her. It's just the apparition of someone's mind, whoever that might be.
There's also the theory of her being a clone.
I hate that, and I'm going to strike that out of the record forever, because I think that that's overplayed and dumb. I can't remember who I was listening to now. I've been trying to listen to more and more podcasts as things go by, but basically the gist was, along the time of Clone Wars, if you remember, we had that whole Dolly the sheep, the cloning thing in the 90s, where they clone the sheep. And I think that's sort of some of the impotence behind everything. But we're kind of over that. We don't really talk about cloning anymore. And I don't want to hear about clones. I mean, you can talk about clones. It's cool. You're half of the show too. So
no, I'm just throwing the idea out there. I really don't care about it one way or the other, to be honest. Just
for sure.
The only thing that it ties into is the mirror vision scene that Rey has. I believe in Force Awakens, she has that scene.
Last Jedi.
So yeah. That was Last Jedi?
Yep.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, the seaweed bunghole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean that is that is kind of a tie into that to an extent, if that were a true theory. It could work. I don't know. That would make this movie so messy, honestly.
I agree. So when you saw this footage, what was your first thought?
For Rey's, the final scene with Rey?
Yeah.
Blew my freaking mind, dude. When I finally calmed down and started to think about what it really meant, I don't think there's ever a way she could turn to the dark side. She is just like Luke. She is pure. There's no way that's going to happen. I think it's either going to be, I like your idea of it being vision for Kylo, but I think it's going to be just like the Force or the dark side cave in Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, and I could be completely off base. We could get something completely different, but that seems to make sense to me in the rationale that I use. So should be very interesting. I'm looking forward to everything. We've been rolling for a little while here, so I think maybe we can break it off at this. But last thoughts, anything that we missed? What else do you got, Darth?
I don't have any last thoughts. I mean, we're kind of on overload here with all the stuff that we've been. Just
There's so
total
much
sensory overload right now. I mean, could you imagine if they did this and then they dropped all the information about the game and all this other stuff at once? Like, people would have heart attacks.
Well, we actually are getting another comic that's starting next week that will be a tie-in to the game.
We really need even more. I mean, I'm not complaining. Don't get me wrong. It's a great time. A Star Wars fan. It truly is. Yeah.
I mean, in an future episode, we're going to drop when we get back into the reread. We actually talk about the Star Wars overload, but you're right, man. We're getting so much. It's almost hard to keep a hold of everything.
Keeping up with all this is, for someone who has no job and has all the time in the world, a teenager right now just getting into Star Wars, take advantage of this, guys. Just soak up every little bit of it. Go back and get all the old lore and just, you're so lucky. I'm so jealous of you.
Never throw away the opportunity to deep dive into this world.
Yeah.
Like the Darth said, especially if you're young and you have the time. Oftentimes,
and I really think that's exactly what they did. They got all these young kids so excited with Force Awakens, gave them a solid 2-3 years to really get into Star Wars, go back and watch all the old stuff and just dump all this new content on them,
For sure. So a lot more to come. We have many, many more speculatory things to come. There's always a potential for a full trailer. You know what I mean? We're going to be watching out potentially for something like that. Although I've got so much, I'm done. I don't want to be
it. I don't want to see anything else until the movie, though. That's my personal preference.
I'm with you. And then we'll watch the movie 10 times.
That was plenty enough for me to be pumped. I mean, that's...
Agreed. All right. Well, folks, hopefully you enjoyed this little bit of speculation, a little special episode here, a little extra content. We have more coming down the pipeline. Myself and the Darth have so much more to discuss. We've got the Return of the Reread coming up. We have new books coming up. I imagine once the Darth finishes Black Spire, we'll talk about that. So we've got a ton more things. And tune in to Star Wars Power Half Hours because we've got more comics. It's just a great time to be a Star Wars fan. So hopefully you enjoyed this, and I really hope you guys have a great rest of your week.
And as always, may the Force be with you.